Welcome to our video on EB-5 investor visas. Let me give you my personal opinion up front. In my opinion, it is not advisable for you to apply on an EB-5 investor visa based on your own business unless you are from a country where money can be clearly traced, let's say the United Kingdom or France, and unless you invest a very large amount and hire many employees right off the bat. If that is not the case for you, my advice is invest in a so-called regional pilot center. I will explain. The EB-5 program is a great idea to have foreign investors come to the United States and create or preserve jobs with their investments. But the rules were not written by business people. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, INA, 10,000 immigrant visas per year are available to qualified individuals seeking permanent resident status in the United States on the basis of their investment in a new commercial enterprise. Of the 10,000 investor visas available annually, 5,000 are set aside for those who invest in so-called regional pilot centers. These regional centers are designated by the Immigration Service, USCIS. There are several regional centers that are pre-qualified by the Immigration Service, USCIS. For example, there's a recognized regional center in Washington, D.C., one in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and in many other locations. If you invest in one of those regional pilot centers, you do not have to live nearby. Instead, choose a regional center that you find trustworthy after a thorough investigation. I strongly suggest that you have a qualified attorney who not only applies for your green card, but also helps you select a regional center where to invest. According to USCIS, a regional center is an entity, organization, or agency that has been approved by USCIS, which seeks to promote economic growth through increased export sales, improved regional productivity, creation of new jobs, and increased domestic capital investment. It focuses on a specific geographic area within the United States. General EB-5 requirements. You can obtain permanent U.S. residency, the desired green card, for yourself and your spouse and children if you invest $1 million or $500,000 in an economically depressed area and you create or preserve 10 jobs. In particular, you must create a new business or purchase an existing business to restructure or reorganize, or expand an existing business, or preserve jobs in a troubled business. You must invest or be actively in the process of investing at least $1 million or $500,000 where the investment is being made in a rural or targeted employment area, which is an area that has experienced unemployment of at least 150% of the national average rate, or in a rural area as designated by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, OMB. As for the investment, it can be made in a number of ways, including cash, equipment, inventory, and other property. However, in reality, it should probably be cash. You must create full-time employment for not fewer than 10 qualified individuals, or maintain the number of existing employees at no less than the pre-investment level for a period of at least 2 years, where the capital investment is being made in a troubled business, which is a business that has been in existence for at least 2 years and has lost 20% of its net worth over the past 12 to 24 months. These employees may not include your spouse or children. In your application, you must also show that your investment funds come from lawful sources, which is very hard to prove if you come, for example, from India or China. Even though you do not have to live nearby your business or the regional center, you must be actively involved in the investment. You must be a qualified investor and prove that you have sufficient funds to maintain such an investment. The regulations and precedent decisions require you to incur a reasonable risk for purposes of generating a return on your capital investment. Thus, there should be no guarantees, no buyback arrangements, no unsecured promissory notes, or other protections. You apply for the green card on Form I-526, the I-526. If your application is approved, you will file an I-485 adjustment of status if you are in the United States or process through a U.S. consulate abroad. Your conditional residency that you receive is for only 2 years. After 2 years, you can apply for the permanent green card. The condition is removed, as it is called, through a petition called I-829, the I-829. If you are a business person, you may already see the problems of this EB-5 program and why I strongly suggested at the outset that you consider investing in a so-called regional center instead. First of all, it is not easy to create or preserve 10 jobs for at least 2 years of your conditional residency with a $500,000 investment, and even with a $1 million investment, it is probably not easy. Second, some of your business decisions would be dictated by immigration regulations and not the business demands. For example, you would think twice whether to lay off employees if the economic circumstances demand it, but you only have 10 employees. Why a regional center? As I said at the beginning, if you think EB-5, it is a good solution for you to consider a regional center, sometimes also called Immigrant Investor Pilot Program. In brief, it is simply because the investment project is pre-approved by USCIS. You only have to show that the 10 jobs will be created indirectly with the use of statistical methods. The active involvement requirements are also relaxed. For a regional center investment, the threshold is a $500,000 capital contribution to a designated regional center, which allocates portions of the capital in the form of business loans to small businesses within the targeted area. Basic requirements for the regional center designation are a focus on a geographic region. It must promote economic growth through increased export sales, if applicable. It must improve regional productivity, and it must create 10 jobs directly or indirectly per investor. The regional center must increase domestic and capital investment in that particular area. The regional center program is scheduled to expire in the fall of 2008, but a reauthorization until the year 2013 is already pending in Congress and will most likely be implemented. Examples of regional pilot centers are the Regional Center in Washington, D.C. The website is www.eb5dc.com. This Washington, D.C. Regional Center and its investments are in one of the top real estate investment markets in the United States, Washington, D.C. The fund invests in real estate development projects and co-invests with real estate developers, sophisticated institutional investors, and professionally managed pension and investment funds. But review any regional center very carefully with your attorney and other expert advice before investing. There's also a regional center in Philadelphia that I mentioned. It is www.phillyfund.com. The regional center there uses the immigrant investments to capitalize the Welcome Fund. The Welcome Fund provides a source of low-cost capital, generally available to commercial, retail, industrial, or non-profit companies that create significant job growth located in the area of Philadelphia. If you're not convinced yet that the EB-5 is not really advisable unless you choose a regional center, let me give you 2 examples from my own practice. Number 1, put yourself in the shoes of a USCIS officer who has to review an EB-5 petition. You don't want to get in trouble with your job, and you only want to approve cases where you are absolutely sure that everything is correct. we filed an EB-5 petition for a Chinese applicant who had received his investment funds from his family in China to set up an electronics business in a depressed area of New York State. The USCIS requested more evidence about the source of funds and ultimately denied the case on those grounds because they could not sufficiently trace the money back to its source in China. The officer was probably overwhelmed because he or she got a pile of documents in Chinese translated into English and was not sure whether all of these documents are real and whether in the end it may be laundered money. Or who knows what the officer was thinking. The bottom line is that it is very hard to provide good proof of the source of funds for countries such as China or India. Here's another problem. We once had an investor who invested in a horse farm project. The investor put up a total of $1.5 million. The horse farm was built but poorly managed by the other partners in the endeavor. Eventually, it failed by the time the conditional 2-year residence expired. Fortunately, the investor was a highly qualified businessman, and we were able to obtain a new green card for him based on the extraordinary ability classification. That investor should have tried that classification at the outset. It would have saved him $1.5 million. The EB-5 area is highly complicated. Any issues that you have, discuss them with a qualified immigration attorney and consider the advice of other experts before you invest anywhere. Thank you.